Okay, so let's talk a bit about what ritual does for us. We've already mentioned a couple of these things, but let's kind of lay them out here. Number one, ritual tends to make change manageable for us. Change becomes a part of our system instead of a threat to our system. What happens when we have a funeral or we have a graduation ceremony or we have a wedding is that we sanction what's happening in a certain way, meaning we take it in and say that it's all right. So if someone dies, then instead of just living with chaos or living with massive unstructured kinds of grief, changes in relationship, changes in the way that we feel, changes in what we have to do the next day or the next week or the next month. Instead of just dealing with that, we have this funeral service. And the funeral service and everything kind of attached to it helps us kind of step through that process, kind of a piece at a time. And as we do that, it provides structure that helps us to manage that change. Even the most basic parts of burying someone or pouring out someone's ashes somewhere or something like that. Even those most basic things give us a level of structure that makes the change that we're experiencing manageable for us. And it does that because when we have the funeral, it says something to us like, this is normal, it's a thing that happens, it's a thing that happens to a bunch of people. In fact, it happens to everybody. And the way that we signify how normal it is we have this process that you go through. And that makes it part of our system, so that if we have a family, funerals, weddings, births, birthdays, all of those things become a part of our family instead of this thing that's attacking our family from the outside. So when that happens, we're honestly better able to accept it. We deal with it more easily. If we don't have some of that stuff, we have a lot more difficulty dealing with it. So ritual makes change manageable. I think this is maybe the most important thing that ritual does for us. It makes our change manageable. Secondly, it facilitates the transmission of values or beliefs. It allows us to say, here's something we think is important, here's something we believe, here's something we value, and because we're doing this ritual with you, we're sharing that value with you. We may do that with our children, with our friends, with students, with people that work for us or work with us. But what we're doing in a ritual is always transmitting some kind of value or belief, something that's meaningful to us. Third thing, ritual creates a safe and manageable context for us to express emotions. Again, a funeral is the best example of this. If someone bursts into tears uncontrollably in the middle of the grocery store, that's not good context for that kind of expression of emotion. It seems unmanageable. It seems like they're out of control. But if someone bursts into tears in the middle of a funeral, or all of those things surrounding a funeral, we experience that as being incredibly normal. And not just normal, but healthy and adaptive. And if you don't do it, we think maybe that's a little maladaptive. So rituals give us a safe place to deal with our emotions. If we cry at weddings, that's okay. It's okay. I did a wedding this summer, and it was a friend, a good friend of one of my daughters, a girl who's been part of our life for 20 years at least. And she and her husband were standing there in front of me, and she's crying and he's crying and her parents were crying, and I sat there and I said, well, I'm gonna cry too. And I told the people at the wedding, I said, it's okay to cry. This is a place where you can do that because we all feel something. And that's really true. That ritual gives us not just the opportunity, but it sanctions that. It says, this is a good place to cry. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and express your emotions. This is a place you can do that. This is a place you should do that. That's really helpful to us. Now, that doesn't mean that we never cry afterwards or before. And it doesn't mean that we never cry in kind of more inappropriate places. But because it's sanctioned during rituals, that allows us a chance to do it in a good, healthy way with a lot of support, with other people that are going to share that with us. If you cry at a funeral, you have the opportunity for family and friends to share that with you. And that's a good thing for us also. Number 4, rituals in a family in particular contribute to family identity. Anywhere they contribute to identity. If you do a ritual in your football team, that means that we're all part of this. It gives us a sense of identity. But it really contributes to family identity. If you have those things in your life where you say, my family always does this, well, one of the things that's happening there is when your family always does that thing, whatever it is it's sending a message saying, you belong to us. You belong to this group. You are one of us. We share an identity together. And that's a really good, healthy thing for us in almost every context. So rituals, one of the things that they almost always do is they show us identity. They say, you belong to this group. Okay. Number 5, rituals tend to facilitate coordination between individuals, families, and communities. Rituals give us that place where we connect with our social structure a little bit, particularly normative rituals. Now, idiosyncratic rituals can do that also if we conduct them the right way. But weddings, funerals, birthdays, graduations, births, all those things are not just private individual experiences. They are individual experiences and family experiences, and very often community experiences, or even larger social structure experiences. So there's kind of a layering of social structure that happens in rituals, where we connect with different levels and different groups because we are participating in a certain kind of ritual. Just think about a graduation where you've got maybe several hundred kids graduating from a community high school, and everybody in the town is there, and all of their relatives are there, and the whole community shares in, we've got this group of kids that reached this milestone. That's a good thing for us. That helps us, again, feel connected to each other. Last thing on this list, rituals tend to facilitate healing. Maybe because of all of these things above, number 1 through 5, rituals tend to help us heal. They help us have that thing, and most of us don't really like this word anymore, but because it sometimes doesn't matter and sometimes doesn't make sense. But that idea that we talk about sometimes of having closure, rituals can help us do that. They can help us have some sense that we've done this thing, we've made this step, we've taken this thing that dropped in our laps and we have contained it, we've dealt with it. And they can help us heal because of all those reasons. Expression of emotions, connection with our community and with our family, managing the change, getting rid of the threat of chaos and utter destruction. That helps us heal. So rituals almost always are going to help us heal some. Now, we're just going to continue here, and here's a list, and you could add things to this. Rituals, because of all those things on that previous slide, they give us an opportunity for lots of different stuff. Membership, identity, healing, celebration, expression of feelings, beliefs and values, even negotiation, experiencing our culture. And you may think of other things there that rituals do for us, or that do for you in a particular setting. The thing that we need to see here is that rituals are important to us. And if we go back to those earlier ideas, I think I'm probably going to say that we all need ritual. Some of us may feel like we need it more than others, and some of us may feel like we need it less than others. But I think that we all need it. I think that it's valuable to all of us. Because if you just look at this list and the ones just before, if you don't have that, there may be a significant hole in your life there. So as we think about how families grow and how families develop and how families change, I think maybe ritual is supposed to be an important part of that. We'll be right back.